Australia, a land of breathtaking beauty, of boundless horizons and the promise of adventure. For generations, it has beckoned travelers, dreamers, seeking the raw, untamed heart of the continent. But beneath the sun-drenched vistas and the whisper of the wind through ancient gums, a terrifying darkness can take root, unseen, unheard, until it erupts with devastating force. The early 1990s. A time when the spirit of exploration was alive and well, when young people from across the globe flocked to Australia, eager to embrace its legendary landscapes and its welcoming culture. They came with open hearts and backpacks filled with dreams. They never imagined that in the heart of this seemingly benevolent land, a predator lay waiting, a silent hunter who would turn their adventure into an unimaginable nightmare. This is the story of the Belanglo State Forest. A place that would forever be etched in the annals of Australian crime. A place where innocence was brutally extinguished and where the name Ivan Milat would become synonymous with pure, unadulterated evil. The allure of Australia in the late 20th century was undeniable. Its vastness offered a sense of freedom, its natural beauty a captivating draw. Young travelers, often on shoestring budgets, embraced the backpacker trail, traversing the country, forging friendships, and collecting memories. Hitchhiking was a common practice, a symbol of the trusting and open nature of the traveling community. Joanne Walters and Caroline Clark, two vibrant young women from Britain seeking adventure and new experiences. Simone Schmidl, a free-spirited German traveler eager to immerse herself in a new culture. Anja Habschied and Gabor Neugebauer, a loving German couple sharing their journey of discovery. James Gibson and Deborah Everest, two young Australians embarking on a local adventure, their lives full of promise. Each of them, in their own way, embodied the spirit of youthful exploration. The first whispers of unease began in late 1989 with the disappearance of James Gibson and Deborah Everest. Their abandoned car was found in the Belanglo State Forest, a vast and often unforgiving wilderness south of Sydney. Initially, it was assumed they had simply gotten lost or met with an accident. But as weeks turned into months with no sign of them, a seed of fear began to sprout. Over the next few years, more young travelers vanished. Simone Schmidl in January 1991, Joanne Walters and Caroline Clark in April 1992, Anja Habschied and Gabor Neugebauer in December 1991. Each disappearance added to the growing sense of dread. The backpacker community, once so trusting, began to feel a chilling undercurrent of fear. Rumors circulated, warnings were whispered, but the vastness of the country and the lack of concrete evidence made it difficult to pinpoint the source of the terror. The police faced an immense challenge. The disappearances were spread out over time and involved individuals from different countries. Communication was less instantaneous than today, making it harder to connect the dots. The Belanglo State Forest itself, with its dense vegetation and sprawling terrain, presented a formidable obstacle to search efforts. It was a place where secrets could easily be buried. For the families and friends of the missing, the agony was unbearable. The uncertainty, the constant hope battling with growing despair, took a devastating toll. They launched their own searches, pleaded with the authorities, and kept the stories of their loved ones alive in the media, desperate for any sign, any clue that might bring them home. The relative quiet of the investigation was shattered in September 1992. Hikers stumbled upon human remains in a remote section of the Belanglo State Forest. The discovery sent a shockwave through the nation. This was no longer a case of missing persons. This was something far more sinister. The discovery of a second body nearby confirmed the horrifying truth. A serial killer was operating in the Australian bush. The condition of the bodies painted a gruesome picture of calculated brutality. The victims had been subjected to horrific violence, stab wounds, gunshot wounds, some bound and gagged. The deliberate nature of the injuries suggested a killer who derived pleasure from inflicting pain, a predator who took control and systematically ended young lives. The media descended upon the Belanglo State Forest, transforming the once anonymous location into a focal point of national horror. The public demanded answers, and the pressure on the police intensified. Task Force Air, a dedicated team of experienced detectives, was formed to the investigation. They faced a daunting task: To piece together the fragments of these tragic lives and hunt down the monster responsible, the investigation was painstaking and complex. Detectives meticulously combed the crime scenes, searching for any trace of the killer. Forensic evidence was painstakingly collected and analyzed. The vastness of the forest and the time that had passed since the disappearances presented significant hurdles. Yet, the determination to bring the perpetrator to justice burned fiercely within the investigators. As the grim discoveries continued, fear gripped the backpacker community. The carefree spirit of adventure was replaced by a pervasive sense of vulnerability. Hostels buzzed with rumors and warnings. Hitchhiking, once a common practice, became fraught with danger. The idyllic image of the Australian outback had been shattered, replaced by the chilling reality of a predator lurking in the shadows. In 1993, a seemingly unrelated incident provided the crucial breakthrough the investigation desperately needed. A British backpacker named Paul Onions was hitchhiking near Bowral, not far from the Belanglo State Forest. A man in a distinctive white Nissan Patrol offered him a ride. During the journey, the man, without warning, pulled a gun and ordered Onions to tie himself up. In a moment of extraordinary courage and quick thinking, Paul Onions managed to fight off his attacker, open the car door, and flee for his life. He ran onto the highway and flagged down a passing motorist who took him to the police. His detailed account of his attacker and his vehicle provided investigators with their first concrete lead. The description of the attacker and the white Nissan Patrol resonated with investigators. They began to look at individuals with a history of violence who owned such a vehicle and lived in the vicinity. One name quickly rose to the surface: Ivan Robert Marco Milat. Ivan Milat was a road worker with a history of minor offenses, but nothing that would have immediately flagged him as a potential serial killer. He lived a seemingly unremarkable life in the suburbs of Sydney. However, as investigators delved deeper, they uncovered a darker side: a history of violence and a fascination with weapons. The white Nissan Patrol, owned by Milat, matched the description provided by Paul Onions. Surveillance was established on Milat, and investigators began to meticulously gather evidence to link him to the backpacker murders. They knew they had to build an airtight case. In May 1994, the police executed search warrants on Ivan Milat's properties. What they found inside sent chills down their spines. Hidden away were items belonging to the missing backpackers: clothing, camping gear, personal belongings, tangible proof that these young travelers had been in his possession. The discoveries didn't end there. Police also found weapons, including a rifle that matched the caliber of bullets found in some of the victims' bodies. The pieces of the puzzle were finally falling into place, revealing the horrifying truth. Ivan Milat was the predator who had terrorized the Australian outback. The arrest of Ivan Milat sent a wave of relief across Australia and the international traveling community. The fear that had gripped the nation for so long began to subside. But for the families of the victims, the arrest was just the beginning of a long and painful journey towards justice. The investigation continued, with detectives meticulously piecing together the timeline of events and building a case against Milat. They interviewed witnesses, analyzed forensic evidence, and prepared for what would be one of the most significant trials in Australian history. The trial of Ivan Milat began in 1996. The courtroom became a stage for the unfolding of unimaginable horror. Paul Onions bravely took the stand, recounting his terrifying encounter and directly identifying Milat as his attacker. Forensic experts presented the mountain of evidence linking Milat to the murders. The prosecution meticulously laid out their case, detailing the timeline of the disappearances, the forensic evidence found in the Belanglo State Forest and at Milat's property, and the crucial testimony of Paul Onions. The defense attempted to cast doubt on the evidence, but the weight of the prosecution's case proved overwhelming. After a lengthy and emotionally charged trial, the jury delivered their verdict: guilty on all 7 counts of murder. Ivan Milat was sentenced to life imprisonment, a sentence that many felt was the only fitting consequence for his heinous and senseless crimes. Even after his conviction, Ivan Milat remained an enigma, never fully confessing to his crimes or revealing his motives. The true extent of his depravity and whether there were other victims remain unanswered questions, casting a long and chilling shadow over the Australian landscape. The backpacker murders serve as a stark and tragic of the vulnerability of innocence and the darkness that can exist even in the most beautiful of places. The story of Ivan Milat is a cautionary tale, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable evil, and a permanent scar on the Australian psyche. The memory of Joanne Walters, Caroline Clark, Simone Schmidl, Anya Habshid, Gabor Neugebauer, James Gibson, and Deborah Everest will never be forgotten.